Hello everyone, this is Willie from Arcade USA, and you're watching Glenn's Retro Show! Game on!
Why, hello, everybody, and welcome to this little stream of Glenn's Retro Show with my good friend Wagner from
Hello.
Wagner's Tech Talk. How you doing, my friend? How's your Wednesday going? I keep thinking today's Thursday, but it is not. So, how was your Wednesday?
It went very well. Went very good. Got a little bit of work done, and yeah, I'm feeling good today.
And we were talking a little bit before the show, and you mentioned you might have picked something up recently.
I have. Yes, I actually picked up something that you and Willie from Arcade USA were discussing recently. It's the Space Invaders.
But you haven't touched it yet, though.
No, it's still in a box. Yeah, I need to open it up. That's one of my tasks for this weekend, to play around with it and unbox it, try it out, and see how it plays.
Now,
Looking forward to it.
For anyone who doesn't know, Wagner has a channel called Wagner's Tech Talk, and I want to congratulate him. He just blasted past me. He said 7,000 subs, so congratulations, my friend.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm telling you, ETA Prime's in trouble. You're creeping up on him already.
Far from that, but thank you.
And well, Wagner has not only a YouTube channel, Wagner also has a website called Wagner's Tech Talk, and he has also what's called the OpenCade project, which I've done a couple of videos on before, where you can 3D print. Well, Wagner, why don't you talk a little bit about your site and the OpenCade project?
Sure. Well, OpenCade started out, I had made a video of using an acrylic case that I found on Amazon, and it was pretty neat. I enjoyed, building it and stuff, but it didn't have a place to actually put the Raspberry Pi. And then a couple of viewers were saying, hey, can you put two of these together? And I'm like, not real easily. You'd have to drill holes in the side and do all this kind of stuff. And they don't fit well because the top panel is kind of overlapping to the next one. So I got to thinking, I was like, yeah, I got this 3D printer here. Let's try and design something. So I spent, I guess, probably about 3 weeks or so off and on, kind of working on it here and there. And put something together and went through several iterations of it and came up with a base design and tried a few different control panel designs until I got something that I thought was usable. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I was going to say, and what's really cool about it is, I mean, I'm not huge into 3D printing, but you've also made different ones for my products as well. So you've done the regular joysticks and buttons. You can also use a Tron joystick. You can use the trackball and the spinner. You can use a Raspberry Pi. You can just use it as USB out to a PC or a Pi, right? You kind of make it very open, hence why it's called OpenCade.
Yeah, it's really how you, the user, wants to use it. You can, like Glenn said, you just plug it in your PC, or you can, put several of them together and make one big monstrosity. A matter of fact, I've got one that's I think it's got 3 panels, 3 bases, 3 different control panels, and I've got Glenn's spinner and his trackball, and then I've got another one that's got the flight stick and the spinner on that, and it's fun. I enjoy playing on it.
Now, if anyone has questions for Wagner about that, we're going to do something new here on the channel as well. I actually have a phone number. Yes, I'm spending no expense, or sparing no expense, I should say. And we'll have a phone number that we'll bring up a little bit later in case you wanted to ask Wagner or me any questions. But another good thing that Wagner does on his channel, he does a lot of reviews. And he's been doing a lot of reviews of these little handhelds. You want to talk about that? Because you've gotten a lot of views on those.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've got several devices that I've recently been reviewing. One of them is this Arcade 2020. I don't know if you can see that very well. Yeah. It's kind of disappearing. Anyway, got that one. One of my, I guess, most popular pages on my website is the RG350 tips page. It gets quite a few views every month, and it's one I've poured a lot of time into. So if you want to know anything about the RG350, you can go to that page. Or it started out as just basically taking my notes public. I learned how to do this. Okay, let's put it on a web page. And then I learned something new, and then it just kind of blew up, and there's like lots of stuff there now.
Well, you take really good notes because the steps you have are very straightforward, very easy to follow, which is great, which is why people are going to your website now and watching your videos. You're very methodical with it.
Well, thank you.
Well, I thank you because you're helping people a lot of things, especially the new one you did was a Raspberry Pi 4 install video, right? Software install?
Yes. That one just kind of walks you through from really the unboxing of it all the way to putting a case on it, getting RetroPie installed, and getting started, loading up your games and that kind of thing, and how to set up your controllers. It kind of steps you through the entire process. So, yeah.
Now, did you have any tutorials on how you hack into like a Rexer show and win a $40 or $30 gift card? How did you manage that one? I was wondering if you were going to mention that.
Oh, that was fun. I enjoyed last night. That was a lot of fun.
Rex does a really good show. I really enjoy his show.
He does.
He does something very original, and it comes off so smooth, even with me like talking, not shutting up. Which is, I'm Italian and German, guys. I'm sorry. What's gonna happen? But he reins us in pretty good. But what I also want to talk about a little bit is, did you watch that show? Do you have Netflix, first of all? Do you watch that High Scores yet or no?
I did. Actually binge watched it this past weekend. It was great.
And what are your thoughts on it?
I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I started out, the first couple of episodes, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty neat. Especially with the Space Invaders, starting out with the history of the Space Invaders and how he had his graph paper and was drawing out the characters. And it reminds me of back in the day when I was learning to program on the TI 99.4A, and you'd have this graph paper and you'd color in the blocks and learn the hex or translate the hex codes.
The CHAR commands. And I tell you, I wrote a Donkey Kong game, and the way I did it was each level was its own. It was TI Extended Basic. Each level was its own. It would load the next level when you completed it. So I did it very accurate, but it was 30 some odd years ago. So by the time I took out the discs again, there was a whole bunch of errors on it, and like most of the code is gone, and only the backgrounds are there. But what you said there before, the graph paper, I remember I took the ColecoVision owner's manual, with Donkey Kong, and I put that thing down, and I literally took each square and I copied pixel for pixel that Donkey Kong and all the icons and graphics in there to put in mine. And of course now they're all gone. I can't find the graph book anywhere. I'm going crazy trying to find that book. But you also have been doing a lot more with the TI as well. You got some new things for that, right?
A little bit. There's been a couple of reviews on the Tippy. Are you familiar with the Tippy a little bit?
I am, but maybe our general audience is not. Not everyone's cool like us with the TI,
Well, basically what it does, it's a board that has a memory expansion. So you have your 32K memory expansion built into this small PCB, and you hook a Raspberry Pi up to it. And I'll spare all the internals of it. It's really cool You can enclose it in like a speech synthesizer case, and it just plugs into the side of the TI. It lets you get on the internet. Of course, you have the memory expansion. It just really opens up a lot of things, which is really, really cool.
And the TI, for people who don't know it, was actually the very first 16-bit computer on the market, even though it was originally designed to be an 8-bit. But they had a problem with the manufacturing of the CPU, so they threw a 16-bit processor in there, all this glue logic, which kind of really, honestly, hampered it more than helped it, to be honest. But
it did.
If you like the MSX computers or the ColecoVision or the Coleco Atom, the graphics technology, the memory technology, everything but the processor sound came from that TI. That's how advanced that machine was. It was at 78, 79, that machine, and ColecoVision was 82. And even when it launched in 82, the graphics were pretty mind-blowing. So that just shows you how advanced it was. And Wagner, you probably talk about this as well. I'm stumbling over my words as usual. But the TI was one of the first machines with speech synthesizer. Mm-hmm. It had the MSX expansion module, which is a voice recognition device with a huge keypad. Did you have one of those?
I do. Actually, it's up in my attic, of all places.
Excellent. Yeah. And the joystick on it was eventually bought by a third party, and Atari was starting to sell it. It was like an analog joystick on the top with 3 buttons on the back. It had the peripheral expansion box, which, again, if Indiana Jones did another movie with another nuclear bomb going off, he can climb in that peripheral expansion box, right? He could survive.
Yeah. It's like 40 pounds. It's
empty.
Very heavy.
40 pounds empty. True. So, in your collection, what is your, I guess, most prized collection that you have? Is it something new or something of an older generation?
Oh, my goodness. That's a tough question. I don't know. I play a lot on the arcade cabinet that my son and I built. I would say that's probably the one that gets the most use. And it's got a Raspberry Pi in there, and it's a big full-size arcade, and we've got a little game room set up, and that's pretty much what I play on the most, actually. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff I like, but I'm sorry?
What about your son? What's his favorite?
He likes Asteroids. That's his favorite game.
Awesome. So he likes the older games.
He does. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, he plays, the Fortnite and the kickboxing. I don't know what the game is called, but he's always playing this boxing type game. And yeah, he's. Oh, and what's that other one with the cars and the ball?
Cars and the ball?
Rocket League? Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Is that a newer game? I don't know that one.
Rocket League, yeah, I think it's fairly new. Basically, it's playing soccer with a car, like a radio control car, and you're hitting the ball into the goals and stuff.
That sounds pretty cool. Almost like an RC Pro-Am with the soccer ball.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I tried playing it. I did not do so well.
Now, Wagner is a lot like me, where he has a lot of different interests, because we have the retro games, we have RetroPie, we have doing reviews, but he also does 3D printing. Mm-hmm. So what got you involved with that? What kind of printer do you use?
I've got a FlashForge Creator Pro, and I had been talking about getting one for a while, and I talked to my mom and told her how cool it would be, and I'll be darned if she didn't, for Christmas, give me the gift cards so I could go pick out a printer and buy the one I wanted. So I picked out the FlashForge Creator Pro, and I've had it for 3 years now. And I guess for the first year or so, mostly what I did is go to Thingiverse and download stuff. And then, at one point I was just like, hey, I need to really get into this and learn, to do all these things that I said I would do, but I didn't. I just kind of pushed it off to the side. So I found some software that it's called MOI 3D. It's really good software. It's not free and it's not, super cheap, but it operates the way I think, I guess. I can put something together fairly well. I mean, there's a lot of good, powerful packages out there. A lot of Autodesk applications that a lot of people do like. And I tried many of them, but they just didn't resonate with me, I guess.
Unfortunately, there's no program that thinks like me. So That's been my problem. But I will say Wagner was very good with me, coaching me, because when you have a 3D printer, it's nice to go to Thingiverse. And as a matter of fact, if you look up Wagner on Wagner, Wagner's Tech Talk on Thingiverse, there's a lot of different things he's made, including steering wheels. So if you have, my spinner, he designed a steering wheel for it, and then other people have actually shrunk it down to fit on the spinner for the Legend. So Thingiverse is a great resource for a lot of things, but the 3D printer becomes most powerful when you can make something that you want for your needs. And Wagner was like, Glenn, you can do it. I'm like, man, I cannot.
You did it.
And I did. So he says,
that was awesome.
Try this. So I did make, I took the At Games Legends plug and play and made it into a tabletop through the coaching from Wagner. And I used TinkerCade, which I messed with years ago, and I just stopped. But if you do sit down for a little while, just using simple shapes, you're able to, you got to really concentrate. It only took me 2 days, but I was impressed with seeing something that didn't exist before and making something. I'm not going to include my kid in that because my wife was kind of at the time the person who really created them. I was just there. I was just a filament at the time. She did all the work. She was the printer. But to actually make something like that from nothing was very cool. So definitely look at Wagner's channel again for that, because he does have some nice things you can print. And I know your son's involved with this, but how's the missus? That's a big question I have to ask everyone on the show is, I know that we're nerds. I know we like playing with these games. We're big kids. But you're married, so how does she handle all of this and the time? Because the channel takes time. Making videos takes time, reviews. How is she with all of it?
She's fine with it. I try and rotate around. I'll spend a couple nights watching TV, just lounging around, doing, whatever. And then, I'll have 2 nights where maybe I'm working on a video, maybe more depending on the video. And I'll try and squeeze in a little bit of time here and there, to learn some new stuff and, kind of prepare a week ahead or sometimes 2 weeks ahead on the video. But yeah, she's very supportive of it. She does roll her eyes every now and then. Another video.
Well, some people ask that question, and they're like, well, my wife's a gamer too. My wife likes playing them once in a while. Like Willie, his wife will steal. If it's Centipede, it's going to be gone because she's just going to walk away and take it. So does she play these things at all, or this is not her thing? It's like your boys, you do it.
No, I've tried to get her to play just doubles on, some retro game on the arcade, and she's like, nah, that's all right. But I have gotten her on the Oculus Quest to play some VR, and she likes that. She'll get in there and play a few games on the Oculus Quest.
That's right. I forgot. You're very big into the Oculus and the VR, so you did a review on that as well, right?
I have. I've got, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 videos on different Oculus Quest things. From my favorite game on there is Racket NX. So if you have an Oculus Quest, definitely try out Racket NX. That is my ultimate favorite game.
Well, I'm seeing one thing came from Rex. He's saying his wife is supportive. So that basically means he doesn't tell her anything. That's what I get from that.
That's funny.
But I got bad English. I have a few 3D headsets, but they're the cheap, $5. Put your cell phone in it, and I think they're pretty neat. But I'm assuming that is night and day compared to what I'm using.
It's a very different experience. You have the full 6 degrees of motion. You can move your head, you can move your body. It actually senses the room that you're in. It's got this thing called a Guardian, which basically you trace an outline of your room, and to keep you from bumping into stuff while you're in VR, a grid will pop up to warn you that you're getting too close to the boundary.
That's kind of cool, because I know the early ones in the 90s, I actually had a very bad, I don't remember the name, CyberMax, I think it was called. It was a VR headset where basically you were looking through 2 holes the size of a pin, basically on your eye, and there was some head tracking, but it was very early. We're talking like 92, maybe 91, kind of tech. But you could take 5 minutes of that. I think I played Star Wars Elite Forces with stormtroopers, stuff like that.
Oh, I bet that was cool.
It was kind of cool, but it was like you couldn't see anything. It was literally like looking through something like that. So I'm definitely going to make the dive into that at some point. And I know I missed the Christmas time when they had the Darth Vader game that was kind of included with that. But you played that, right?
Oh yeah, I played all 3 episodes on the Quest, and I think I made a video on one of them. I didn't make a video on the first one. I think it was the last one that I made a video on. But yeah, it's great. I mean, they're probably about 30 to 45 minutes, a little bit of gameplay, but it's mostly just flowing through a story, basically. A few little puzzles along the way, but it's a great story and well worth I think it's $9 for each of the games.
That's not bad. That's reasonable.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not something that you're going to play a whole lot. You'll go through it once, but on the very last episode 3, it's got a lightsaber dojo at the end, which is really neat. So you can take a stormtrooper and pick him up and throw him around using the Force. And
wait.
Throw your lightsaber.
They have a Star Wars game. They don't have that Star Wars dance they had in the Xbox. I think that was the best. Well, I forgot what Star Wars game that was, but there was one where it was actually like Dance Dance Revolution, but with all the Star Wars characters in the game. Did you ever see that?
I never saw that.
You look it up on YouTube. It's hysterical. You see Darth Vader or Stormtroopers or the Emperor doing these, dance moves you got to try and do. I would think with VR that'd be great exercise. You could tell the wife or the family, hey, I'm exercising. Not sitting down. I'm doing some good exercising.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So what do you want to see more on your own channel? What is something you kind of want to get into but haven't been able to, whether it's monetarily or just time? Is there something you want to add to the channel, or right now you're kind of happy with what you're doing?
There is some new stuff that's coming. It's Raspberry Pi related. At least the first video will probably
I knew it. You're going after ETA. I knew it.
No. There is a device that I backed. Of course, I backed your Star Wars yoke, and I'm really looking forward to that.
September. Keep your thumbs up for September.
September? Yeah. Awesome. And I'm hoping to build something, for OpenCade to fit it. I know you've told me it's heavy.
Yeah,
it's about, like 9 pounds.
About 9 pounds, yeah.
So, I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not, and I'll have to look at the size and everything.
I was thinking maybe if you could put a hole through the bottom and then could put a strap through it, put it around the table. I don't know, or suction cups.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, we could do that.
Boom.
Either that or put some big legs on the side to kind of extend out that might keep it secure.
Right.
I don't know. But so that's one thing. I want to get more into some electronics projects, basically to help people who are wanting to get into building circuits, creating circuits, whether they're using an Arduino or Raspberry Pi, do something, a little different. It's not that I want to take the channel there 100%, but I would like to incorporate some of that because it's a great way to learn about technology and to get comfortable with electronics in general. And I've got a device, a CrowPi 2, that's coming in the mail, hopefully the early part of next month. And basically it's a laptop, but it's got a PCB built into the laptop. You remove the keyboard, and underneath it is basically a playground where you can take wires and wire up your own circuits and, throw your Arduino in there or a microbit or, whatever you want to do and create some really cool projects. It's got tutorials, all kinds of things, including Minecraft. So it's a great way to introduce kids to, to electronics and programming and doing all sorts of neat stuff.
Well, that's a good thing about that Raspberry Pi. I mean, you can start as low as $5 or go up to $60, depending on which model you want. But it's if we had that as a kid, my God, I can't even think of things I would have done with that thing.
Oh man,
it's amazing how technology is getting powerful and cheap. I mean, it really is. And kids today, I guess my parents said the same thing. Why wasting time playing those games over there when you should be learning something? But now they have these big tournaments, right? People winning $5-6 million for playing Fortnite. So, haha, mom, haha, dad.
It's wild.
It's incredible. Like I probably until maybe 5-6 years ago didn't even know about these things, but they have backers, and they're making $2 to $5 million a year playing a Fortnite or a game competition, it blows my mind that this thing is real.
More power to them. I mean, if I could get away with that, I would do it.
Got to get back to the good old days. So we missed out. It's not fair. I want more of those Pac-Man asteroids tournaments back then.
That's right. Maybe they should have a retro version of the esports.
We're going to get started on that. Once you surpass ETA Prime in subs, we'll be able to get that ball rolling.
Oh, you're funny.
Now, how long have you been actually doing this? I know a year, 2 years. How long have you been doing your channel for?
Well, I started slowly, probably about 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more. I've had the channel for or the account, I guess, for 9 years. Didn't do anything with it, uploaded a few videos here and there. But I'd say probably about 2 years, something like that.
Scott J just subscribed to you. See?
Oh, thank you.
ETA, eat your heart out. He's on his way. I'm marking it today. Mark this day down. 8/26/2020. Wagner's going after ETA. I'm predicting it. He's on his way. ETA, I'm just kidding, man. Don't get mad at me, please. But I have to say, between all the stuff that you do, that the OpenCade, I think, was the biggest thing you did for the community, because it is just an open design, and if people don't have the ability to make stuff out of wood. I mean, a lot of people say make your own. But some people don't understand. When you can do something, not everyone knows how to do that thing.
Right.
I am famous. I'll measure 5 times, and then I'll do it a 6th time because I know those 5 are wrong. And okay, it's perfect. I cut the holes, and I'm off by a foot. I'm like, how is that possible? I'm going to put a video up one day of showing you my door to my laundry room, because the door was fine, but I put down a rubberized floor in the basement, and it just hit a little bit, on one side. I'm like, I could take an inch off of that. It'll be fine. So once again, I measure, and I measure again, and I measure again. I take the door off, bring the door outside, and up here I remembered a saw is not centered, right? So if you put the saw blade on one side, it's going to cut here, but if you turn it around, it's now going to cut over here. But of course, I'm not thinking. So I say, you know what? I'm not comfortable this way. I'm going to do it from the other way. And now my door is this far off the ground to this very day. I'll put a picture up because I'm not lying. You can literally, my dog, Blue, can just walk pretty much under that door. And it's just a reminder to myself of how stupid I can be, no matter how much I plan. But hey, that's my charm. Hear that, ladies? That's my charm. You want someone who can make a mistake and laugh at himself? I'm your guy.
Well, you wouldn't believe all the plastic that was in the office when I was designing OpenCade. I mean, it was no, that's not going to work. No, not going to work. And plastic everywhere.
Now, do you have a lot of issues with adhesion initially, or it always stuck? It just came out wrong when you designed it?
I did have problems early on. I went to a glass bed on the printer, and since then, adhesion has not been an issue for me. It's really worked out well. And I use hairspray. Spray it with hairspray.
Well, some people don't really use too much hairspray, so you're not being very delicate to my feelings, Wagner. I don't know about that. I'm feeling kind of hurt.
Oh no, I don't use it myself. I just go buy it for the printer.
Now, was it Battlecry said flex plates? Now, on my printer, I have the Anycubic. It has the Ultra base, and okay. I love that thing. It's a glass base with little pores, and when it heats up, the pores expand out a little bit, and the filament goes inside there, and as it cools, it contracts, and as it contracts, it pops it off. If you see the Ultra base in action, you don't need to do anything to it. It's really, really good. The only problem with the Ultra base is that the heating part and the base under the glass is aluminum, and what does aluminum do very easily? It warps. Exactly. So once you figure out how warped your bed is, you get it all in tune, which took me a good year. It's fine. But there's people who made firmwares where you basically have the machine do multiple points, and it finds where those points are, and it knows it for the future, which is kind of neat.
Awesome.
Now, what I'm going to do now is, again, guys, this is brand new for me, so if it doesn't work, I apologize. I'm going to open up the studio lines in case anyone has a question here for Wagner. And I can find, of course, where it is. Let's see here. Is that it right there? Yes, it is. Boop, boop. So we have a hotline to call. Now, it's going to be, it's not toll-free. Glenn's Retro Show is not making the bucks here. But if you'll call 845-618-8595, you have the possibility of actually getting through on my system here and see if it actually works. So we'll see if anyone calls in for a question or just want to say hello. Again, no idea if it's going to work, but you got to try sometime, and that time is now for me here. So
awesome.
Let's see if there's any comments in here we have as well. Rex has been here. He only threatens to burn my retro stuff in arcades once in a while. Actually, and I tell it to everyone too. If I ever do, unfortunately, pass away, make a Wagner, get to my house quick because my son will just start throwing everything out, and you might want something from here. So if you're not here within a couple hours of me, laying down dead, everything will probably be on the street because unless it's Minecraft or Fortnite, my son doesn't care about it.
He doesn't want to have anything to do with
Nothing
it.
at all. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's
Same
weird.
here,
My
for the most
father was he was a hairdresser and he became a truck driver, and so he was on the road a lot. So we didn't have a lot of time together. So I figured, when I have a kid, I'm into video games, right? What kid does not want to play video games? And how cool is a dad who says, "Yeah, you want to buy that? I'll buy it for you." Yeah. Nope. I buy him games, cartridges. They're still shrink wrapped in the box, sitting on the wall. Minecraft, Fortnite, laptop.
Did you get him a couple extras and leave them in the original packaging? And
Actually, for him, no. But
No?
because what happens is it goes to him and then eventually just comes down to the studio and becomes mine anyway. I got him a 3DS. Kids love the 3DS, right? That was like a big thing.
It was.
Nope. Right to
No?
me. Got a Switch. He's got a Switch still in the box.
Wow.
And, so again, more things for
I've
me, I
not
suppose.
even tried the Switch. How do you like the Switch?
I actually have not touched the Switch because I'll put into packing that little guy. And I've been so busy building, these things. I have one here, actually, if it comes up on it. 3D printed another case I'm working on here. So I now would rather build my own and, get a Pi and customize it because I'm going to be honest, I'm not huge into these newer games as far as a lot of them are online play and you play with other people. And I can play by myself and tell everyone how great I am. But when you play someone else online, you can't do that. They know you stink. The few times I played Fortnite with my son, I'm always second. I make it to second place because I'm always hiding in the corner somewhere until the guy has to find me and put a slug in my head. And then the game's over. Now, do you do any of that with him? Because you said he does play Fortnite. Do you?
I've tried. I've actually got Fortnite on my laptop, which is what I use for videos and everything else. But to be honest with you, I don't play a whole lot of PC games. Not a whole lot. And he's got an Xbox One in his room, and he'll play that quite a bit.
We actually have a call.
We have a call?
We do. Let's see how this works.
Wow.
Hello, welcome, caller, to Glenn's Retro Show and Wagner's Tech Talk. Who is this?
It's the Rexer Show. I'm hoping this
I'm not
works,
sure if it's not coming
Glenn.
through or not. Let's see. Someone is there.
Does it work, Glenn? Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me on my phone? Hey, hold on. Hold on. Let's see if we get you online again. It's not coming through here. Let's see why not. You're going to be my tester here. So it should be here on this one here. And
I can hear you good.
It should be coming through, but we don't hear him.
Uh,
Say something again. Nothing's
hey,
coming
I
through.
can hear you. You want me to try calling in again?
Call in again in a minute. I'm going to make a little adjustment here. Again, you're my first beta tester, so call back in 1 second. We'll see if this works. Thank you, sir.
Will do.
See, folks, we have a live show. These are the fun things you have to try and figure out. And of course, when I tested it pre-show, works flawlessly every time.
Yeah.
And then you go to try it again, and it just goes, nah, I'm not going to work. So let's see here. We'll try and fix this here. Sometimes you do a deactivate and a 1 to twin powers activate, if anyone knows that reference. If you do, put it in the comments. 1 to twin powers Activate. See if anyone knows that one. All right. So we put that back in place. So see if the next caller comes in, if that works this time, because it should. Everything here is set up the way it's supposed to. And I can even call myself. That's how conceited I can be. If I call myself and see if it comes through. Let's try that right there. Coming in. Let's see if I hear myself online. Do we hear anything? It is coming. It is coming through. I think it is. Testing 1, 2, 3.
I can't tell which one of you is. It's often.
Well, I got it live again, so if you want to call back in again, we'll try one more time on that because it is here. And sometimes with the software I have, you got to activate, deactivate, and reactivate the call here. Some people said they did hear it, so they say they do. Oh, here we go. We're gonna try it again.
All right.
Hello, Glenn's Retro Show. You're on the air.
Glenn, it's the Rexer Show. Can you hear me now? Everybody said they could hear me.
Is anyone hearing him?
I'm not.
Everybody said they could hear me.
Gummit.
I can hear you.
What we're going to do, we're cheating. Doing it this way. Okay, hold on. Say that again. It's Rexer from Rexer Show.
Hey, Rex.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm cheating, but they can hear you.
Okay, let me ask my question. I was some Wagner, and I see that he does some pie stuff. My question is, when and how did it get turned on to the pie? Because for me, I was in all these forums, hackers, and then somebody turned me on and said, why don't you use the Raspberry Pi? And it was kind of like taboo in some of these forums to talk about the Raspberry Pi. And once somebody turned me on to the Pi, I was off and running and said, oh, well, I'm leaving all this other hacking behind and I'm going to run the Pi. So that's my question. When and how did it get turned on to it?
All right,
Okay.
so Wagner. Thanks, Rex. Thanks for calling in, buddy.
Thank you, Rex. I guess it was probably maybe 4 years ago. I was talking to a guy at the gym, and he was telling me about a Raspberry Pi, and it was the first time I heard that. I was like, "What do you mean? Are we talking about the pie you eat? What are you talking about?" He said, "No. It's a small single board computer, and you can do all kinds of stuff with it." So I started digging into it and then wound up finding out about RetroPie, and I was like, oh, this is great because I love retro games. I love the classics, the Pac-Man, the Galagas, Donkey Kong, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, I got to learn how to do this. And so basically I just started Googling it and watching YouTube videos and ETA Prime and watching as much as I could, and then I eventually came across Glenn's Retro Show. You had done a lot on Raspberry Pis, and I learned a lot just from watching other people, and then of course playing with it and trying to figure out what you can do with it, and it's still amazing. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do with it. I even probably about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I built a robot using a Raspberry Pi and a couple of Arduinos, and I've got it sitting up here. I was going to take it to work one day for show and tell, but unfortunately when I powered it on, the temperature sensors, the smoke sensor was going off on it, and I didn't have the code readily available to make any changes to it, and I didn't want it going around saying, fire. So I decided not to take it into work. But yeah, it's pretty cool. You can.
I would say I want to thank Rex for being the guinea pig there. I really appreciate it. I'll get it working for next time, the call-in. But what's funny about the Pi, I heard about this kind of in passing in the forums, and I was like, what? It's a computer? What? It's $5? I'm like, okay. So I think I bought a Raspberry Pi 2. That's the one I got first, which most people don't touch that at all. It's either a 0 or a 3 or a 4. No one touches a 2. But at the time, the 2 was the most powerful. So I got it, right, and I loaded Emulation Station on that thing, right? That's what you did. And I didn't know what the hell to do with it. It says you'll press a button. I couldn't get the controls to connect, and it just totally cheesed me off. and I put it away for like months. Then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down and try it again. And this time I put like one of the desktop images on there. I'm like, oh, okay, the desktop image worked, touchscreen worked, the mouse worked, everything's great. Emulation station, put it in again. Couldn't figure out how to get the stupid thing to work. Why is nothing working in this machine? Totally frustrated me. Threw it away again. And then, for me personally, when the very first Basic Fun Pac-Man and Space Raiders came out, the very first ones came out, I saw it in a Toys R Us, and I started looking at it. I'm like, you know, if I can get the stupid Pi to work, I bet I could get that and turn it into a real working machine. And that's when I finally came out with the original mod to do those machines with a 2.5-inch screen. And then you really have to sit down. But once you understand it, it's very easy. The problem is so many people are used to like Windows OS or Mac OS.
Right.
Linux, which has actually become the basis of both these days, is the underlying layer. And once you find out those simple little steps, and then how to use the GPIOs, which again, for a first time looking at it, you're like, whoa, yeah, I'm not touching that. But once you figure out what they are and how easy they are to program, I mean, God, guys, I figured it out. Okay, me, and it's pretty powerful. You can do some really cool projects.
You can.
I mean, the robot thing is pretty cool. I've seen some projects, with a Pi, or even using a Pi Zero, which is like $5 or $6, and you put a little camera on it. And you can do all these cool things with the camera, and it's just for kids. Again, if I was 12 or 13 years old, I had a Pi and resources that I have now with the internet, these kids can make some really amazing things, and especially now with this thing going on where people can't go anywhere, to get one of these, give it to your kids, to mess around with the thing. And, it's begging people to come up with new ideas for these things. And it's pretty amazing the stuff they do come out with.
Yeah, it really is. And there's so much more I want to do with it, but, it's a lot of fun.
Now, as far as talking about this, what was your first memory of a first console or game that you either had or played somewhere else? What is the very first memory you have with the gaming? Whether even a handheld, doesn't matter what it was.
The first console, like retro console?
It could be anything electronic. I mean, back when I was growing up, there was like Tommy, and it wasn't even electronic. It was like bands of, cars that go around the loop, and you had a little wheel and just make the car go around. What was your first experience going, ooh, I like this, and you got kind of hooked into this whole scene?
I'd say the first console was probably Pong.
Nice.
Which you're going to like.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm going to like that.
It was over at a friend's house, and that's all it did is it played Pong. And we played it for hours. And then maybe a year later or so, we wound up getting an Atari 2600. And that was high tech back then.
Now I want to ask you real quick, like the first time you saw Pong, right? Mm-hmm. What went through your head? Because I want people to understand that there was nothing before it. So you walk into someone's house on a television, which is probably a 25-inch maybe black and white TV set with the big, like here we have the big knobs, and you see this box. What went through your mind when you first saw this thing?
It was magic. It's like, how do they do this? This is just incredible. I mean, of course, today it's laughable, but back then it was magic. The wheels on there, the knobs where you would turn this thing and you could bounce the ball back and forth. It was fun. It was exciting, and it was just kind of a magical time, I think.
Because before that, TV was, you sat and watched it like a vegetable, and now you were doing something and controlling it, and playing a friend and being, I beat you 3 times out of 4. You suck. Those type of things. But then you said you got a 2600. Now, did you get the Atari version, or did you get the Sears version?
No, it was the Atari. Yeah, this was 79, 80.
So was it Combat you got, or did you get the Space Invaders one?
Yeah, it came with Combat. So it was the earlier model, I think.
So now going from Pong to that Atari, what was your thoughts with that?
That was crazy. You could just turn it off, pop the cartridge out, put in another one, play a different game. Of course, at the beginning, we didn't have anything but Combat for quite a while. But then we started, cutting grass and getting money and bought more cartridges, and yeah, it was great until there was a fire sale at Kmart on this little computer for $50.
Big 20 or the 64?
No, that was the TI. That was
You got
my
the TI.
first computer.
Was it the beige one?
Yes,
Okay.
the beige one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when you were before we get to the TI again, on that Atari, what was your favorite either memory or game or playing with a friend? What was your favorite experience with the Atari 2600?
I really enjoyed Atlantis. It was made by Activision. It was a fun game.
Was it Activision or a Magic?
You're right. It was a Magic.
See, again, my crazy mind age gets in there.
Nice catch. Yeah, that's right.
A Magic was known for using those very vibrant colors in their game. I mean, the colors were like silvery, very in-your-face kind of games. But that was a good game. So that was like your favorite game?
That one, and I'd say Popeye. That one was Parker Brothers, if I remember.
That is correct.
And that was a fun game. It was a fairly decent port. I mean, for the Atari.
Did you happen to have Pac-Man?
I remember when Pac-Man came out. A good friend of ours, he was so excited to get this cartridge, and of course, Mom and Dad rushed us over so we could go play Pac-Man on his Atari 2600. And we fired it up, and I looked at it, and I'm like, that's not Pac-Man.
Not even close.
No, it was horrible. And it's not the Atari 2600's fault necessarily. I mean, because they came out with Miss Pac-Man later on, and it was a pretty decent game. It played very similarly.
Yep. And
to arcade.
It wasn't even the programmer's fault. It was Atari's management fault. We talked about it yesterday on Rex's show, that it was basically the prototype. He just basically was just trying out to get the things to work. And Atari's like, we need it. It's got to go. And that's what shipped. So if you do have a 2600 and a flash cart, they have the 4K or 8K Pac-Man, which it'll blow your mind that the 2600 will do this. But real quick, Mr. Chip had put in the comments about Casey Munchkin, and that was for the Magnavox Odyssey 2. And there was a huge lawsuit from Atari, of course. Back then, Warner had Atari. They were suing everybody. And they went after Magnavox because they considered a ripoff of Pac-Man they had the license for. And they actually won. And Casey Munchkin was such a better game. I have the Odyssey 2. I got Casey Munchkin. It was such a better game. And Atari won, and they had to pull it off the shelves. That was like the Odyssey 2's killer app was that Casey Munchkin. It was that good. And Atari, nope, they said we have the license. It's too similar. And back then, again, everything was new. Even the judicial system, I can't even say the justice system was all brand new. So they're like, yeah, you're right. Atari, you win. Boom. And then pull all the games off the shelves. But it was a very good game from a system that honestly really didn't have much, in my opinion, to offer. The Odyssey 2, the graphics, even though it came out after the Atari, looked pre-Atari. It just wasn't a system that I would have personally got back in the day. But of course I did because it was me. But I digress with that. But then you talk about like Miss Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man on the 2600 was a huge improvement. It shows that the 2600 was capable of a decent game.
Right. It certainly was.
So after that, you went to a computer, which a lot of people did because if you got your Atari around 79 or 80, 82 started kind of like, people started getting away from it, and then 83 was the crash, which is why you got your TI for $50 between the war with Commodore, which is a whole other topic I'll shut up about now. But you got in this computer, and you bring it home. What'd you do with it?
I was probably 13, 14, somewhere around in there. And, I didn't have money for more games or anything, even though, they were fairly cheap, but they were still, $20 somewhere around in there, half the cost of the unit. So I didn't get a whole lot at the time when I got the console. Matter of fact, I don't think I got anything but the console. But it's been a while. I might be wrong. But it came with 2 books. There's a user's guide and a beginner's basic, TI basic book. And I just started learning how to program from that. And I did that for a while and started creating my own games. And of course, TI Basic was fairly limited. Eventually, I did go to TI Extended Basic, which allowed you to incorporate sprites and stuff like that. And I really loved it. I got hooked on it. There were some limitations that I ran into here and there, but if I had a fully expanded system at the time, I could have done a lot more. Because I could have used stuff like mini memory or editor assembler and do something like that. So I was kind of stuck with BASIC for a long time. And I loved it.
The TI Basic was very slow and limited.
The interpreter's very slow.
Yeah, it was really bad. But the Extended Basic improved a lot. The big thing was sprites, sprite routines, and a couple of call commands and go subs. I know we're talking really nerd stuff right now, but it really did make the experience. Even both the basics were not spectacular. I just knew that TI did not want to pay a license to then Microsoft, a very small company, for their basic. So they wrote their own. And again, it's just the TI had so many different layers of overhead because of, again, corporate decisions. Not the engineers. Engineers are telling these guys no. They're like, nope, we want this. We're going to save the customer here. Just and that's what we got. Then after the TI, what was your next system? Where'd you go to from there?
From there, I went to an Amiga 1000.
Ooh, juicy now.
It's like a Cadillac.
So
even today, it's an impressive machine.
It is, and the 1000 is very coveted. I mean, I got rid of mine a long time ago because when Commodore went belly up back then, I got annoyed and I got rid of it. And of course, I regret it because it was a beautiful machine. And so you got an Amiga then. I started off actually with a 500. And then
did you?
Yeah, I started that way, and then I saw 1000. One of the World of Commodore shows in New York City on the Intrepid. They used to have them every year. They had brand new or reconditioned 1000s for $90 or $99 at the show. I'm like, there you go, take my money. And the keyboard, the look of that machine, it was just a nice machine. Now, did you program on that, or was it more just you just fooled around with it?
Well, actually, I'll tell you a quick story. Yes, I did, to answer your question. I learned a little bit about Amiga Basic, and at this point, I was living with another gentleman, in an apartment. We're trying to save money and stuff, and I wanted to build a security system. So I used the Amiga to I took the joystick controllers, tore one of them apart, took the switches out, built a little key lock switch and a window sensor and all this kind of stuff, and put together a little security system with an amplifier and some speakers. And of course, the Amiga could speak very easily through TI Basic. So I wrote this thing, and I also hooked up a modem to it. That's important that I mention that. So you could send the ATD, whatever commands. So anyway, built this thing, turned it on, cranked the speaker up, went off to work, and we were celebrating someone's birthday at work, and I get a page, and there's a certain code that if I see that means someone tripped the alarm. So I just called the apartment and said, someone answered the phone, and I said, "Who is this in my apartment?" And he said, "This is the bug man. How do you turn this damn thing off?" Because it was going, woo, woo. Oh, it was so funny. But anyway, I feel bad for the neighbors because when I did finally get home that evening, it was still going. He never did turn it off or turn the speakers down. He just left.
Well, thankfully it was a bug man and not like someone actually burgling the place. But did they tell you that someone was coming in the apartment? No,
they didn't warn us ahead of time. So
oh well. Only Amiga makes it possible at Wagner's place.
That's right.
So they have read a couple comments here quick. The Sword Quest. Didn't they have $1 million prize for beat it? Actually, there was 4 cartridges. There was Sword Quest, Earth Quest. There were 2 other ones. I can't. There was a total of 4. I can't remember all the Sword Quests. But there was a $250,000 cash prize. I don't think it was $1 million, but they had for each one of the game cartridges there was actual jewelry, like a chalice that was worth like $100,000.
Oh, wow.
a sword that was worth like $200,000. I mean, these were Atari actually had these things built by jewelers with real diamonds, real emeralds, gold, and I think before the gaming crash happened, only one or two of the actual items are in the hands of someone who won the tournament. The sword and the chalice, which were worth the most, legend has it they were definitely real, but legend has it they're sitting with the Tremels. Now, Jack Tremel purchased Atari from Warner Communications for basically pennies, and they basically killed that stuff off, and no one knows where they went, but the rumor is that those two items are with the Tremel family, and they absolutely did exist. And that's what I will say about it, like Atari back in the day, that they were definitely innovative. They definitely would spend money. I mean, they were like the first $1 billion, the fastest growing company in Silicon Valley, the first $1 billion company. They were also the fastest to smack down and face down in the dirt afterwards. But that contest was absolutely real. You can look it up, Sword Quest series. And when you look at the items that they had for this thing, again, real, not like metal with glass, real emeralds, real diamonds, real rubies, real gold, real silver, and they were gorgeous, especially the sword. The sword and the chalice were obviously the most amazing ones, but no one knows where they went. And again, rumor, can't confirm it because I haven't been over to the house and probably never would be invited, is that the Tremel family has them somewhere. And one day maybe they'll surface again. But another good piece of gaming history, that people don't realize. Not everything was the world of Nintendo, whereas most people remember. When they talk about the Power Glove and the world of Nintendo and all that stuff. Atari did a lot of that stuff, and even the arcades before that. They actually had Walter Day with Twin Galaxies. They had done a lot of those things. So it's just a lot of history that I personally would hate to see just be forgotten, or a lot of times you hear people talking about it and talking about it incorrectly. I mean, like really incorrectly. Like it always gets me how people say, Nintendo brought back the game industry, and they did. I'm not going to say that they didn't. They definitely did. But the fact that they even knew back in the day, or at least the perception was that Atari was the giant, they had to go through them. So history just could have been so different with just certain little changes in decisions back then. I mean, can you imagine the Atari NES, the Atari SNES, the A64? That's what would have happened if Atari didn't. Well, they did it to themselves, which is kind of what Tremels and Warner does. But again, I can ramble all day and night about that. We have only a few minutes left. I don't want this to go on too long. So, again, if anyone wants to try and call in, I could do it like I did before with Rex, because my link-in system did not work. And again, it's using really probably 1980s technology. But I gave it a shot. Or if it says any comments in here. Now, one thing was it Battlecry said again, Psygnosis games ruled, and they did. I mean, I can just say Lemmings right off the top was probably
Lemmings
was probably a game that just blew past the Amiga and went into so many other platforms. But that again was on the Amiga. But their games were hard. I remember playing those games and I wanted to throw my head into the monitor because the graphics were gorgeous. The music was always fantastic. It drew you in. Shadow of the Beast drew you in. Man, those games were hard.
Yep.
Now, what did you must have played some games on the Amiga. What was your favorite Amiga game?
Oh, goodness. I would have to say Arkanoid. I like playing Arkanoid with the mouse. I thought that was pretty neat. Of course, today I play it with a GRS trackball.
All right.
But
I never played Arkanoid on the Amiga, but there was a game it was a freeware game called Mega Ball. I don't know if you ever heard of that one. It was, remember those good old bulletin boards you dialed in all the time? There was a game. It was back then shareware. It was like you download it, you pay like a couple levels, like for $5 you get the additional levels. But it basically was a complete Arkanoid ripoff. But
really,
man, I get hand cramps again from the mouse. Playing all the time with the mouse. Because back then the mouses they weren't optical, they were ball mice.
That's right.
So they would still get stuck. You had a hair on, falling out of your head. You're like, ah! and your ball's not tracking anymore. You're like, I
Gotta
had a
take
high
your
score.
fingernail and scrape all the stuff off
Oh,
after a
the
while.
gunk. People don't have any idea today what we had to go
They
through back then. And
They've got it made.
Jack's man, I know he's joking, but he says, Atari went bankrupt because of ET, which they really didn't. ET, gets a lot of bad rap, including in the show. The high score. He even said I was the cause when ET was definitely is not the worst game ever. There's a game called Bus Driver, I think it's called, where you actually drive a bus from Las Vegas to like LA, and the whole game is in real time. So there's nothing on the road. It's just a steering wheel inside a bus, and you're driving for like 9 hours. That's it. You just got to keep it on the road, like 9 hours. That's the game. So there are definitely games worse than ET. The problem is with ET, you had to read the manual. First of all, if you didn't read the manual, you weren't going to be playing the game right. And there were glitches. I mean, the guy programmed it. Howard Warshaw programmed this game in 6 weeks, where games normally took 6 to 7 months.
Right.
And so I think he did a phenomenal job with that game. But, that was probably the biggest release that Atari spent a ton of money on in games. It made like 250,000 copies, figuring they would sell more consoles. But it was like Pac-Man. Pac-Man was, again, a rush port. It was horrible. E.T. was a bad port. It was horrible. Even Indiana Jones, again, you had to read the manual, but most people didn't want to read the manual back then. Atari was one button. You plugged it in and you played. So Atari had taken a lot of hits that way. And then, of course, people just getting tired of bad games from all the systems. There were too many companies making systems. It's not like today. We have Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and that's really it. Back then, we had everyone making a console. I mean, you picked up like a video magazine. Not talking video game magazine, because back then you did have a few. I'm talking like a video magazine with like VCRs and DVD players. And you go to the back, there was like hundreds of pages of computers and consoles that all these companies were making. Who's going to buy them all? Aside from me.
Good point. Yeah.
So before we end here, I just want to say once again, Wagner, he's a really good guy. He's a friend of mine. He's totally going to be taking that ETA Prime very shortly with his subscribers. So do look him up on YouTube. It's Wagner's Tech Talk, or you can go to wagnerstechtalk.com, correct, for your website?
That's correct. Mm-hmm. Yes,
all right,
sir.
And subscribe. And also, we have other guys out here like Rex. And Rex has a great show, too. He's been in here shooting out some comments. Was my guinea pig on the phone. Rex has a great show. I love being on that one as well. Yes, he does. And I want to thank you all for joining me. I didn't put this in advance because I knew this was going to be kind of a guinea pig, and Wagner's a buddy of mine, so I made him my guinea pig as well to kind of try some of my technology, which didn't work perfectly today, but we're going to keep working on it. But
well, thank you, Glenn.
I want to give you the last words.
Having me here.
Please shut me up. Say, Glenn, shut up.
No, no. I just want to say thank you for all that you do for the community, Glenn. You make some awesome products, and I really appreciate you. And you're good.
I appreciate it, but I want to, and I really thank you for that. But I want to say that what I'm doing, I want to do for everyone out there. One of my biggest gripes with consoles of today in the past few years is when you play a game, you really need the controller that was designed for that game. You can't play everything with a directional pad or an analog stick. The experience when you're playing a game, your interface, like with the VR headset, you got the headset on, the controls, you are becoming in that part of the game. When you're playing a game, like Tempest or Centipede or Star Wars or Atari Warriors, you need those controllers to really immerse yourself in the game. And
that's very true.
My motto is, and my partner's motto is, getting that with the highest quality materials we can do, but make it absolutely as cheap as possible. I'm not talking cheap as in flimsy. I'm talking cheap as those price of the metals and everything is what it is, and we're going to just get it out to you guys so you can enjoy it. Because for me and my friends and my buddies and even Wagner, what is like his OpenCade, we want you guys to enjoy the stuff. We want you to, when you buy something, have fun with it. And to me, that's what gaming's all about. And this community, including Wagner and my friends out there, is what makes all of this worthwhile. Because, trust me, there's a dark side to this community that we all get hit with once in a while. But when we get a thank you, like I'm sure Wagner gets them too, and Rex gets them too, great show, I enjoyed this, those things kind of outweigh. People will say, you're a turd. Whatever. So again, everyone, I really thank you for watching. And next time, hopefully things will be a little bit better. We'll have Wagner on again. Maybe we'll do have a few guys on from YouTube or the community, because I really also want people like Wagner and people in the community to be able to talk to you guys on a one-on-one. Not always feel like we're separated. We do want to be part of the community as much as possible. So, Wagner, again, thank you so much for coming on and being my guinea pig. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And thank you, Glenn.
Okay, everyone, remember, no matter what you do or how you do it, what do you do, Wagner?
Game on.
At the Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit.